Welcome everybody. My name is Jawan, and the purpose of this video is to help you have a better understanding of resume paper and the uses of it for interviews. This is a channel that I want to start because there's a lot of things that I didn't know when I was younger and that I've learned along the way that have helped me in my professional life. And so as I continue this journey through life, I'm 29 by the way, I just want to share experiences that I've learned that could possibly help the next person. And this could be a way to possibly help spread that message and information to a wider audience. So I'll be going over 5 points throughout this video, starting with what is resume paper, just the very basics on how to format your resume, how to tailor your resume depending on what position you're applying to, proofreading, and professionalism beyond the resume. All right, so the first point, resume paper. This right here is an example of ivory resume paper. So it's not too thick, but it's slightly thicker than your typical paper. And just so you can see difference, this is a white piece of paper, and you can see the contrast between the two. So I got this from Walmart. It's a whole pack of 100 resume papers for about 13 bucks. So in the past, when I've needed my resume printed out, I would upload the file to staples.com and I would have the resume printed out on resume paper. But I believe at the time, and this was about last year, it was less than $1.50 per page, and I had 2 pages. So it just cost me about $3, if that, to have it printed out and stapled for me. And it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. And it's one of the things that did help me land the job that I'm currently working. If it's not an option for you to buy a whole 100 sheets, for example, of resume paper for roughly $13, then I would advise you to go on staples.com, for example, and they can print it out for you and you can pick it up either, depending on what time, either the same day or the next day. And make sure you be careful when you're reading it to have it printed out on resume paper. It'll cost even less for you. Again, the key takeaway for using resume paper is not that it will necessarily be the deciding factor of you getting hired, but it shows professionalism and effort. Now, point 2, clear formatting. So with your resume, you want it to be as seamless and simplistic to read for whoever is reading your resume. Easy to follow. So this is very basic formatting that I'll be sharing with you. I will not get into depth about what size margins to use, how many inches, for example. That's not what this is for. That's not what I'm going to do. You want easy to read font to start with. For example, Times New Roman, that's universal. Next thing is that you want consistent spacing. So you want your entire resume to be single spaced, for example, or 1.5 spaced, for example, but it just needs to all be consistent. You don't want one section to be double spaced and another section to be single spaced. So you want consistency throughout your entire resume in spacing. You'll also want clear sections. So each section should be distinguished. For example, at the top should be your objective summary, and then it should flow into your next section. For example, on my resume, I have my objective summary at the very top. Following that, I have my current position with 3 to 4 bulletins of what I do. Followed by that, I have my work history for my other positions that I've done throughout my company. And on this side, I have it sectioned off where it has my contact information, for example, my address. And I also have key skills. So everything on my resume, it flows. It's nice and clear. I have my name up top. I have my objective summary. Below that, I have my work history. On this side, I have my contact information, my address, key skills. So that's one of the most important things as well, is to have clear sections. So everything is easy to go through, go back to, and to follow for whoever's looking at your resume. And lastly, you want to avoid clutter. This is something that I was definitely a victim to years ago. I would have, for example, I've been at my company for almost 4 years, but when I would apply for different positions in the past, I'd have my entire work history. And again, I'm 29, so I started working when I was 18. So imagine roughly a decade of work history on a resume. It was completely cluttered. I had about 3 pages, and typically whoever's looking at your resume, they don't want to flip through like they're reading a book. So this will kind of go into one of my other points about tailoring your resume. But going back to the original point, you want to avoid clutter. So you keep everything sectioned off that you need to. So your address, your name, your objective summary, work history, for example, but keep it concise so it's not so cluttered. The key takeaway is that you want to make it easy for somebody to find important information quickly on your resume. Now, the third point is to tailor your resume. And this is what I was just talking about. But you don't send the exact same resume to every single job that you apply for. And that's something else that in the past I would always do. Any position it was, I'm sending the same resume, no matter what it was. And it took me a while to understand that I need to tailor my resume to whatever the job is that I'm applying to. So for example, my first roughly 3 years of the company that I've been at, I was in a warehouse. So when I was applying for different positions and corporate jobs, for example, still within the same company, I wasn't tailoring my resume to those specific jobs. So what you want to do is you read the job description and then you take out keywords from those descriptions that you're applying to, and you put some of those into your resume. So if you have relevant experience to that position, you want to highlight that. So those keywords, if you have the relevant experience, put that into your resume, and you want to highlight that because that's what they're going to be looking for. They know they know what's on the job description. So if you're using keywords that fit and highlighting that with relative experience, they're going to notice that, and that's going to stand out to them when they're looking over your resume. But make sure you only adjust it when it's appropriate. So for example, in the past, again, for me, whenever I would apply for office jobs or corporate jobs, some of them I could get away with after I've tailored my resume using the same resume, because some of the jobs that I was applying for, they were similar in that sense. But always be sure you read the description and then you take away keywords from those description and highlight relative experience in your resume, and you tailor your resume to those jobs that you're applying for, because one resume isn't made for every single job that you apply for. Yeah, keep that in mind. And the key takeaway for this point is that any little extra effort goes a long way. I know it sounds tedious to have to tweak your resume, tailor it every single position that you're applying to, but the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And like I said, you don't have to do it for every single position that you apply for, because if it's something similar, if you're applying for 2 different jobs, but they're similar in that sense, then you can use the same resume, for example. But if they're 2 different jobs and they're not similar at all, then you just need to do some tweaking, but it's okay because you're going to become a professional at tweaking your resume, updating it just like that. Now, the fourth point is the proofread. This is one of the most crucial things that you can do is proofread your resume. You want to check your spelling, you want to check your grammar. There's so many things now, with technology that you can just send it in your resume and have it proofread for you regarding spelling and grammar. So there's no excuse on that front. Also, one of the most important things to do is to read it aloud. I know a lot of people don't like doing that. They don't like to read things out loud, but this is important. This is crucial because once you hear it, it sounds different from your head versus it being read aloud. So once you hear how it grammatically flows, then that'll kind of give you an idea. Maybe that doesn't sound right. And have somebody else read it. So after you do all three of those things, especially lastly being you reading it out loud, you want to make sure you have somebody else read it aloud, because something might sound right to you in your head and something might sound right to you aloud. But when you hear somebody else reading it aloud, then you'll most likely catch it, or they'll catch it, for example. So you want to make sure you proofread your resume. You check for grammatical mistakes, you check for spelling mistakes, you yourself, you read it aloud, and most importantly, you have somebody else read it out loud. And lastly, the fifth point is professionalism beyond your resume. There are several things that matter with your resume. It is to help you get your foot in the door. Communication matters. Preparation matters. All three of those are crucial. And interviewing, that's a topic all by itself. And maybe in a future video, I'll go ahead and go over some tips and tricks for interviewing that helped me, that can hopefully possibly help you as well. But that's for another time. So these are the 5 points that I wanted to go over with you about your resume. So, resume paper and what it is, simple formatting of your resume, tailoring your resume, proofreading your resume, and professionalism beyond your resume. Again, I just want to thank all my viewers, and I will continue doing this in the future. As long as this has helped just one person, then that's all that matters for me. I don't need 1 million views. I just need to hopefully help one person at the minimum. So thank you for everything. Thank you for being here. I'm excited for this opportunity. I'm excited to see where this goes. And please let me know if I've helped you in any sense. Share this with somebody that might need some help with this. And I look forward to the next video. Take care, guys.